Hey everyone, my name is Candis Dyer and this is Canna Corner. We are broadcasted live every Monday from my Candis Dyer Facebook page. We have a few great sponsors that I want to highlight. KM420 Radio being one, and you can catch the replay of Canna Corner every Sunday at 2 p.m. Central Time on km420radio.com on Mixlr. And then you can also catch the replay with our other sponsor, WJAE 420 Radio, WJAE420.com. And it's going to be replayed every Wednesday at 2 on there. So you can find them both those places. Plus, you can go and find the replays on the YouTube channel or catch us here live. There's many ways that you can listen to the show. Canna Corner is all about cannabis patients and getting stories out there, corruption, whatever it be. And today we got some corruption, let me tell you. We've got Miss Celina Sansone coming on, Scott's wife. I'm hoping I'm saying her last name right. She just got out of jail. I'm gonna bring her on just a minute, but I also wanted to thank GoGreenBotanicals.com, another sponsor, and the Human Solution International. You can find them at thsintl.org, and that is another one of the groups that I work with. I'm a board member over there, and we try to help recently released cannabis prisoners and also court support and all kinds of stuff. So anyway, after all that being said, without further ado, let's go ahead and get Celina on here.
Okay.
Hi, Celina. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm okay. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm so glad to see you free. I definitely am very excited to get your story out there. I know it is so much to it. So I'm kind of just going to let you start from the very beginning.
Okay.
About why they started attacking you to begin with.
Okay. Okay, this started back in July of 2019. My grandma had bought me a double wide and it was in a trailer park, but she paid like $80-some thousand on it and still owed on the loan and everything. And my landlord, I owed him some back rent. It was a few $100s, and he was trying to take the house. And I have the motion here where the judge denied it and said that there had to be a writ of mandamus to even take the house.
Right.
Which they didn't do that. The sheriff came and knocked on our door and said that we had to leave, that they were seizing the home, and there was no paperwork. He brought no paperwork about like taking the house or anything because there wasn't a court order to do it.
Right.
He just told us we had to leave, and if we didn't leave, we'd be arrested and all that. That day, no paperwork about the house, but they brought us a subpoena for court saying that our homeschool had been, we didn't turn the appropriate documents for our homeschool, and there was a court date set. So we left that house, we moved into a new home in Morgantown, and I started calling the sheriff's department every single day, trying to get a hold of sheriff to see how they could take the house without a warrant. I left my name, my phone number, everything, every single day, and the sheriff never did return my call. But the cop who would always answer the phone when I called up there and left my messages started sending me text messages. And, you know, he started sending me sexual text messages.
And you've got proof of this, right? Like,
yes.
Scott told me you got like collection of proof of all of this, right?
Yes, I have the text messages. Then he sent me pictures, and all his stuff. So the very day he was sending me these messages, CPS came. Well, okay. On this August 16th, we had a preliminary hearing for our homeschool thing because they said it was educational neglect. We had a hearing, my kids are deemed safe. Then on August 18th, they did a home safety check of our new house. Everything was fine. CPS came, guardian ad litem came, our lawyers came. Everything was fine, no issues or problems at all. And that was the day he started sending me the messages. And then on the next day, I went to the police and I took my phone, I showed him what he was sending me. I filed a complaint. Then on the 20th, we were supposed to have, the very next day, we were supposed to have a court hearing, but they continued it and called it a status conference. And then that day, 2 days after they did the home safety check and everything, the guardian ad litem got up and said that we were squatters in our home and that we didn't have utilities. And I begged for the judge to let the CPS worker speak, and he said she'll get her turn. She never talked. Her report documentation of the home safety check was never given to the court, it still hasn't been provided. I have numerous audio recorded conversations where they say that, well, technically it's supposed to be in your file, but it's not. So, and she no longer works for the state, they say. So I can't even call her to testify. After that day, she just disappeared.
Wow.
I'm trying, there's so much, I just don't want to leave anything out.
Well,
that day.
So I do want to touch base. I'm kind of mixing you and Scott's conversation. I've talked extensively with Scott because you were in jail and I couldn't talk to you. But so he told me that a CPS worker came in and said everything was okay, and something about the judge getting a family member in CPS to come and even her saying it was okay.
Oh yeah, that came after the first CPS worker. Yeah, the CPS worker who did the home safety check said that, everything was fine.
Right.
The house was fine. The lights above our head were on. Clearly we had utility, electricity. I had my water, I had all the bills and stuff. I just didn't realize when I went in that day that they were going to say something that wasn't true. So I would have brought it with me.
Right.
I begged the judge to let me, my landlord would have gladly came in to say, no, we're not squatters there.
Right.
And I could have went home and got the documentation for our utility bills, and he just wouldn't let us. And he ordered the removal of my kids that day at the status conference. I had no opportunity to cross. The only person to speak was the guardian ad litem who lied. CPS didn't say a word, even though I begged for her to. That he ordered to remove my kids and put them in foster care, and for us to have no contact with them. And I begged him not to do that. Whatever please let me bring you whatever, that's not true. And he still ordered that. He had the cops come to Morgantown to get my kids. They were the family member. I didn't give them my kids. My kids were not there when they got there. And I didn't give them my kids for about a month and a half. I kept my kids.
Right. Trying to keep your kids safe. Okay, so after you turned that police officer in for the text messages, that's when all of a sudden you're not
the next day.
But before that, you were fine. Right. And Scott said he's got audio of the CPS worker coming in and saying that everything was fine. Is that true? Yeah,
it's the CPS supervisor said that CPS did not find my kids to be in danger. They did not want to remove my children. They were just following a court order. All that stuff. CPS wasn't the ones who wanted to take my kids.
Right. And then to get clarity, okay, so he said that y'all had a mobile home. I guess this is the one your grandma paid for. The landlord died, and so you were paying his son.
Yeah.
But nobody told you who to pay.
Well, his son is someone we had always been there, even when the dad was alive. So when the dad died, most people did pay him, but in the end, they put a note on our door that said if you've been paying Jamie Coben, then it might not be counted. And that was they agreed that they put that on our door and everything. And in the end, they all were arguing over who was supposed to be taking the money, and I guess Jamie spent the money when he wasn't supposed to, when they're supposed to split it.
Right. So that is how and then you were behind on your rent, but he said that you didn't pay anything, and y'all have proof of some of it, just not all.
Yeah.
So that there should have been enough to prove, hey, I have been paying some to him. I have proof right here.
Right.
And then for them to just come take your house without a fucking warrant or anything. And he said the judge gave
because it was in my Yeah, well, because the judge used to be the lawyer for our landlord over
Okay,
the lot. He was just the lot, like the landlord
gotcha.
over the lot. And the judge used to be his lawyer for my landlord. And actually, during when the case first began, when they were trying to evict me and all that stuff, he was his lawyer.
Right.
The judge was before he became judge.
Wow.
And
Like
yeah,
I want people to see the history. Like there's definitely something fishy going on. Because okay, so you said that he used to be a lawyer, now he's a judge. He was a lawyer in your original case. Then he gets to be a judge. Then they decide to take your house from you, saying that you haven't paid anything when y'all have proof of paying some to this guy.
right.
And no
And
warrant, no nothing. And they
my
wouldn't even
grand
let you get your shit out of the house. Like they
right.
took all your
No,
possessions.
right. And my grandmother, it was her, like, I have the cops at first didn't want to take our house, and I actually have the county commission, like it shows the cops talking in this. I have the transcripts where they're talking in the county commission thing, or the commission thing, and the cop says that we can't take so and so's property to satisfy a debt owed by somebody else. And that's exactly what they did. I'm the one who had the agreement with the landlord for the lot rent payments, which
Right.
was only $100 a month. It was
Right.
not very much. And they took my grandmother's house, who was not on any type of thing with the landlord, who still had a loan for the house. And she had
Right.
paid $83,000 up to date on the day that they took it.
Oh my God. Wow. And then so the judge takes your house and gives it to somebody. That's what Scott
Yeah,
said.
the landlord.
Friend. Oh, the landlord? Okay, so the landlord's his
Yeah.
friend. He takes they give it back to the landlord. They wouldn't let you get even your underwear out of it. Like,
Right.
and not 30 days, not nothing. They just said, get out or we're arresting
Yeah.
you.
Yes.
Wow. It's freaking incredible. And okay, so then he said that a CPS worker came in, said everything was okay. Something about another CPS worker came in that was the family member of the judge.
Yeah. Okay. So the first CPS worker who did the home safety check disappeared. Her documentation disappeared. Then I have numerous conversations with the supervisor, who said that they didn't want our kids. And then he died. And then after that, Carrie Poirier came into the case, who is related to the judge. And she was on her case for a long time. Now she's gone. There was a new girl.
Wasn't she even the family member of the judge? Wasn't she saying that the kids were fine? That she wasn't going to say that otherwise?
Yeah,
Okay.
Right. Her goal was reunification, that she, never really said anything negative about us. Other than they made a big deal about how I didn't give them my kids. Like they tried to act like after the fact that.
Yeah, but you were told by two other CPS workers that everything was fine. And
Yep.
You are a mother now fighting for your kids. Any mother would have been like, no, something needs to be, y'all need to look at this closer. This isn't right. Like you were speaking up that you should have never been thrown in jail for kidnapping your kids and all that.
Yeah.
That is bullshit. How long, okay, so let's talk about that a little bit. What happened and led up to that? Because you're a mother like any other mother, that if they've been told 2 times by a CPS caseworker that we are keeping your kids in here and they were safe, and there's a vendetta against the judge, and this, nobody else does, but you're freaking out as a parent. Like, no, my kids are fine and you're not taking them. Like, that's not kidnapping.
Right. I mean, I panicked and I didn't want to give them my kids,
Right.
and
Totally.
I went home and I took my kids home to our house in Morgantown, the house that she said we were squatters in. For about a month and a half, I was there. We walked every day. We lived normally. We walked every day. We did our normal thing. And then one day the cops knocked on my door. It was 2 Preston County cops and 1 Wannon County. They were all state troopers. And when they got there, I tried to hide in the attic kids because I didn't want to give them my kids.
No, I get you.
But
I want to stress that any one of us as parents would have done that. Like you're
Yeah,
told that everything is fine and then they're coming to get your kids. Like I'd be wondering what the fuck is up to and saying, hell no, you ain't taking my kids. Like
right.
you didn't do anything wrong there. So when they came in blazing though, didn't they?
Yeah, I tried to hide in the attic. I had all the kids up there. The attic has stairs you pull up, and every time I pull them up, it'd make a banging noise, and I couldn't get it up. So my 15-year-old daughter jumped down and closed it up, and she answered the door. And of course, they asked for me. She asked if they had a warrant. The cop said yes, and she said, "Can I see it?" He says no. And when he told her no, she tried to close the door. And I mean, she's a little thing, she's
Yeah,
not
she's a
very
kid.
big.
Number one, they shouldn't be dealing with her at all anyway, because she's not the owner of the house. She has no right to tell them that they can come in, and they have
Right.
to show a warrant. Just because she's a child
Yeah.
doesn't mean they can skip that part.
Right. And he told her no. And she tried to close the door. And when she did, he kicked it back on her. Like she's standing behind it, closing it. He kicked it back on her, slung her down. Her knees were busted open and bleeding. He pulled his gun on her, handcuffed her, and told her she watches too much TV, you crazy little bitch, was what he was saying to her. She said, "I'm just a kid. I'm just a kid." She's screaming the whole entire time, "I'm just a kid." He picks her up, slams her onto the couch, gets me and the other kids out of the attic at gunpoint. Then that's the last time I saw my kids, was
Now,
that
get
day I
this.
was arrested.
I want to stress this because this is bullshit. Okay, your 15-year-old daughter was basically abused by the police officer
Right.
and told all kinds of stuff that he shouldn't have been saying anyway. That your job is to go in there, make sure everyone's safe, get the people out that you're supposed to get out, and not assault the 15-year-old at the door. That is not their job. And
Right.
this whole case infuriates me. So okay, so they get in there, they get y'all, you get all the kids out.
Mhm.
This is a long story, y'all. Bear with me because I mean this is heartbreaking. They take your older daughter, and because she wasn't having any of this, she knew it was corruption. She was screaming it from the rooftops. They
Yeah.
put her in the hospital, psych ward.
That's my other daughter. Actually,
Okay.
my second to oldest daughter. Yeah. Oh, they
I'm sorry. I know this got to be hard for you, but I really want to get this story out and show people this is the stuff that happens. Our system is corrupt, y'all, and they are literally taking these kids from her, saying she's an unfit parent, but they're abusing them as they're
yeah,
taking them. Like, you're a cop, so you can do that, but like, I don't
right.
understand.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was charged with my husband and I were both charged with the same thing, 6 counts of child concealment, because we have 6 kids, so it was 1 count per kid. His bail was 30,000. They reduced it to 10,000. My bail was $120,000 for the same exact thing. I have no, no prior stuff, like no felonies, nothing like that. I have driving stuff, but like it
Other
was
than you
cigarettes.
turned in a cop that was sending you dirty messages and they've got it
Yeah.
in for you. That is the truth, y'all. And
Mhm.
you can see this clearly here. She was fine. She turned in some text messages and now all of a sudden they're after her. Like,
The very next day.
and didn't you say, sorry, not you, Scott told me that cop had prior issues with other people sending him messages and stuff?
Yeah, actually, whenever I didn't give them my kids, I was reaching out to everybody, the governor, the senator, the attorney general, the FBI, everybody. And I called the attorney general and told him what happened. He was kind of, and whoever I talked to was not very nice.
Right.
And I got off the phone with him, but the next day he called me back. I have this on recording too. And he tells me that he knows that I'm not lying because he works with someone there that used to work at the sheriff's department who knows that there was a lot of complaints against this cop.
Wow.
And then also after it happened, I put on the internet on my Facebook. I didn't say his name, but I did say a cop from the Preston County Sheriff's Department
Right.
was sending me these messages. And I got like 6 women who messaged me and said it has to be Rick Turner. They knew who he was just by what I said on my Facebook post and without saying his name.
So cover up. I mean, that's what this sounds like to me. He does. Okay. So we got Christy in the chat and she's saying she's here with you. She says he does.
Hi,
There are
Christy.
several other women. So it's just unbelievable to me. Okay. So now, so you're caught. They got you. They've put you in jail with an outrageous bond. They've taken your house, all your belongings away. They've taken your kids. Of course, you're going to start calling everybody you can.
Right.
The older daughter, I want to stress that what they did to her.
Right.
They put her in a psych ward, right?
Okay. My second oldest.
Okay.
See, after my kids were taken, my kids, we've never been apart. We homeschooled our kids. We were always together, always doing something. We were very close.
Right.
They split my kids up 2 by 2 and put them in foster care homes, hours and hours away. They didn't allow us any contact because with the child concealment, where I didn't give CPS my kids. They ordered no contact between me and Scott. We weren't allowed to have contact with each other, and we were not allowed to have contact with our kids. A month later, we went to court. That was lifted. That the judge took that off there, the no contact order. But still, for 21 months, they did not allow visitation, phone calls, nothing, absolutely nothing.
Even after lifting that, they should
Right.
you should have immediately been contacted with a time you could see your kids. Like,
right.
But
20,
how many months?
Yeah, 21 months with no contact whatsoever. I have motion court, motion court, motion court. He just ignores me. And after having my kids for a year and no contact with us, completely alienating us, I got a thing from the guardian ad litem saying that the judge ordered to have in-camera interviews with my children, which I was happy about. I wanted my kids to finally have a voice. But they never had the in-camera interviews. They were supposed to do it with 5 of my kids, not my youngest. They didn't bring them in. They brought 2 of my children in. Not my 2 second oldest, not my oldest, but the 2. So they were 14 and 11.
Okay.
And they brought them in, and there was no in-camera part. Like, they had nothing in camera. I was not, they took them to the courthouse to talk to the judge. I was not there. My standby attorney was not there. It was only the judge, the prosecutor, the guardian ad litem, the lady who lied. CPS wasn't even there. Not even a month after they did this little secret meeting with those 2 children, they were both saying you're all liars. From what I hear, that was what they said. And they were just flipping out. Those 2 kids have been the ones who, really have spoke out against them a lot.
Right.
And try, pissed off at them.
Yes.
And a month after that, a month after that, my little girl was put in a psychiatric hospital. She wanted to kill herself, and my son was put into a shelter. The only 2 of my kids who were ever put into a place like that were these 2 children, and not even a month after they had this secret interview in the judge's chambers or whatever. I also have emails from I asked the judge to at least be provided transcripts of what was said to my children. And you know what I mean?
Right.
And they said they denied. If you see the email, she says the judge denied you.
How can you just deny you're a parent of a child the right to see what was said in court? Like this all just baffles me. And so, okay, so the kids that gave him the problems that were look, I give these kids major props to be able to speak out against this. I mean, they've seen all this. They know that their parents aren't abusive. They know that their parents were taking care of them, and they're trying to speak. And you're saying that they're also being threatened, that they'll never see their other siblings again if they talk to you, right?
Yes. And my oldest daughter, who is now 18, she's not allowed to talk about her siblings to me or my husband. And if she does that, she won't be able to see her siblings anymore. They have her scared to death. Like,
it's child abuse. Yeah. They are abusing your children. Like, they took your children away from a perfectly good mom and are abusing your kids. That is what it is. That, I mean, I'm going to call it what it fucking is. Like something about shock treatment. What happened with that?
Oh yeah, my little girl, the daughter who was sent to the psychiatric hospital, she says that they would give her these things that she would hold in her hands, like these metal things that she would hold in her hands, and they would ask her yes and no questions, and they would shock her.
If they got the wrong answer, like the answer they didn't want, they're like programming your child to say you're abusive is what they're trying to do.
Right.
Oh,
And I've never been accused of harming my kids ever. What I was accused of was being a squatter in my home,
right.
and didn't have utilities, which I do. I have the utility bills. I have,
And when in America has it ever been child abuse to be homeless? Like,
right.
Seriously.
But I really wasn't though.
Right. But even if you were, like, I'm trying to wrap my head around this. Even if you were homeless, they would work with you and try to get you a housing to keep your kids with you. Like that is what they normally do. I just want to point out that all this stuff is not a normal thing. Like, because they're mad at you for turning in this cop. They're trying to get back with you every way they can. It's crazy how everyone involved with your case either died or got fired or whatever. The people that can help you, all that's
Right.
left are the ones that are corrupt and messing with your life, man. So I know that Scott has messaged me about some serious freaking things that are going on with your kids. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Like their mental state right now?
Yeah. There's some things I'm not allowed to talk about.
Right.
But yeah. Yeah, my two, they're just, all my kids are screwed up. They'll never be the same kids again. Two of my kids were abused in foster care.
God, as a mom, and I can't even, my heart really goes out to you. I hear the pain.
They left them there for 3 weeks before they moved them out of there. 3 weeks they were left there before they moved them somewhere else. And they took them from me, who would never hurt my kids.
Right.
And put them places where they've been hurt. And I feel like keeping my kids isolated like this is to hide other stuff that they don't want me to know that's happened to them. Like, I feel like, that's what it is.
And let's be very frank, y'all. I'm speaking from me. This isn't her. I've heard so much that we can't talk about that is unfucking believable. But her daughter is being threatened right now. They are threatening this child. She's an adult now, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
She's aged out. Okay. Mm-hmm. They are threatening her now that she's aged out. If you say anything to your mom about what's going on, you will never see your daughter, your siblings again, ever. And so she's scared as hell. And there are some things that we can't really touch base on, but just know that it's horrible. It's horrible, the things these kids are going through. And this isn't right. And if anybody out there can help her, I'm calling out to y'all, man, a lawyer, somebody that can help her. She's got all the proof. She has done great at getting the evidence, getting the voice calls, getting all the proof. She needs the text messages from the cops. So, I mean, I'm just asking and pleading with anybody that I know that listens to this show. If y'all can help, please reach out to us. Was there anything else? I know it's a lot. I'm trying not to like leave anything out, but is there anything that we didn't touch base on that you want to like bring to light a little bit?
Like I said, there's so much that they've done. They put my kids on, I still have my parental rights still to today. I have not lost my parental rights. However, they have my kids on narcotics, birth control, all kinds of medications. They've had them on for a year that I just now found out that they were put on without my consent, without my knowledge, without anything like that.
Are they letting you see your kids at all right now either?
No. After 21 months, we finally got our first visit last August, and we had the visit, With the oldest two, we had one visit. With the youngest four, we had 3 visits. And then at the end of they were supervised, of course. At the end of the visit, my son starts talking about abuse that he had suffered. And I asked the CPS worker, I said, did you hear that? And she's like, well, I didn't know anything about this. And I was like, yeah, but you
know
took
now.
my kids from, right. And the person was drunk whenever this happened to my kid. And I told her, I said, you take my kids from me whenever I've never hurt my kids, never been accused of hurting my kids. I don't drink, I don't do any of these
Right.
things. And you're going to take them from me and put him somewhere where now he has to be in those situations. The very next day, I got a phone call saying that they're taking away my visitation because I talked about the case in front of the kids, is what they said. Because I said that, I've never been accused of, never hurt my kids, never been accused of hurting my kids, never none of that. And they took away my visitation. And that was last August. And it's still not over. I have not seen my kids or talked to my kids since last August, other than my oldest daughter who had just turned 18.
This is legal kidnapping, y'all. This is like, oh, I've got a vendetta against you. I'm going to come and screw your whole world up. And there's nothing you can do about it. This is not right. And this happens, unfortunately, with so many people. Like, you are one voice of many. And this is how they shut them up. Don't talk. Put a legal gag on you. Don't say nothing. You'll never see your kids again. But at this point, she's fed up. She's like, I'm not seeing them anyway. Like, I've got to tell somebody, anybody that'll listen. Man.
For 2 years, we take 2 random drug screens a week. Never missed, never failed. They said my husband failed once. We had to go pay $200 to get a hair follicle test to prove that wasn't true.
Yeah.
Yeah. The guardian ad litem.
Meth, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then he pays for a hair follicle test to prove. This is the corruption I'm talking about. Like, they can just say, you failed for this, and you have to prove yourself innocent. You are not innocent until proven guilty. You are guilty until you can prove yourself innocent. And a lot of people don't have the funds to do that, or the means, or even know what their rights are. Like, it's confusing.
They told our kids that we, fell in drug tests, that we gave up, we don't care. I've done parenting classes. The parenting lady said to the MDT that she sees no deficits in our parenting. We've done psychological evaluations where the psychologist says they see nothing hindering us from raising our kids. I've done a competency test. I've done everything. And still it's not enough. And they just don't want to give my kids back.
Where are you out of again? What state?
West Virginia.
West Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm gonna talk to a friend of mine named Michael. He's with the legal clinic that we got with the Human Solution International. And I'm gonna see if he can't look over your case, see some kind of loophole or something. I don't think he works out of where you're at. Like, he only has a lawyer license in Texas and a few other places, but he might be able to point us in the right direction on what you as a parent can do to, I don't know, sue the fucking state.
Yeah.
Or something. Come with your evidence. This is what they're doing to me. And the problem is, y'all, they know you don't got the money to do this. The state has unlimited funds. And I've seen it time and time again. If it's not the state against you, they don't care. If they ain't going to get some kind of money out of you, they don't care. If it's something that was done to you criminally, they could care less. Right. But God forbid you owe the state a dime. They will come after you with full force. But why aren't they looking at okay, so they don't want to admit corruption's going on and they want to cover it up or whatever. But this is what I say time and time again. I always say, everybody comes to me with they're good cops, right? And yeah, there are good cops out there. But when you've got good cops in with a corrupt place, and they watch that corruption go on, and they don't say a fucking thing about it, that therefore makes them a bad cop. Like in my eyes, they're not good cops. I don't care why you serve. If you are not turning in your buddies that are committing crimes and that are hurting others and breaking the law, then you are just as bad as they are. And I'm speaking out to those cops. If you don't want to be labeled a bad cop, say something. Get up. I don't care. The boys in blue, and it's its own gang. Like they gotta say something about what's happening. They can't just keep it quiet. Her son is not even in the same state anymore.
No, in fact, he was taken to a behavioral place or from the shelter. They told him that I was going to be in prison for 66 years, and he got angry and he broke a table. And so the shelter didn't want him there anymore, and they took him to Virginia. I found out that the same place that I filed the complaint against the cop, they transported my 12-year-old son there. From what I understand, he was handcuffed because he was a danger to himself or others. So they took him to Virginia. Then the Judge Schaefer, since it happened in Morgantown, Judge Schaefer didn't have any jurisdiction over it, but Judge Schaefer called the prosecutor in Morgantown and was trying to get the prosecutor to criminally charge my 12-year-old son with destruction of property so he could gain jurisdiction over it, which the prosecutor down here didn't do it. But still, he's a 12-year-old little boy who's being
who's been through a lot, and they should fucking care. They should care. I mean, okay, let's say that you were a criminal and you kidnapped your kids, and what gives them the right to treat children like this? They have nothing to do with it. They should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law, and this is bullshit, y'all. And please, if anybody's hearing this case, I am begging you, if I have to set up a GoFundMe to help pay you some money or whatever, if this case is touching your heart, we need help. We need somebody to tell us what to do. She needs help.
Yeah, I filed a 1983 lawsuit last year, and it was thrown out. They denied it. Well, they accepted it, but then they said that he had immunity because he's a judge. And so but he still reigned on my case, still my judge after I sued him. Also, then with the child concealment case, I was charged with the child concealment, and then in June of 2020, I was indicted, and they indicted me for the 6 counts of child concealment, 1 count of conspiracy. They said I conspired with my husband to not give them my kids. And then a year later, they have a year to try you, but they didn't have any hearings at all. A year later, they did a superseded indictment, re-indicted me all over again for the same exact 6 charges of child concealment and the charge of conspiracy. But they added 5 additional charges of conspiracy to cover, 1 per kid. So I was looking at 12 felony charges for not giving them my kids. And then about 6 months after that, I finally went to court. But during this time, my court appointed lawyer kept saying that I need to take a plea bargain, like bugging the crap out of me to take a plea bargain.
I want you to take a plea.
Where I felt like I didn't do anything wrong, and I was trying to protect my kids from these monsters. Like I wasn't going to take a plea bargain. So in November, I went to court. I fired my attorney because then I gave me another attorney who quit because I wouldn't take a plea bargain. And he said that it was a conflict since I wouldn't do it. He was telling me like his legal, what I should do.
It is your right to have a trial. It is your right. And of course you want a trial. You want a jury to see what happened. Like,
right.
And it's like this whole system is bullshit. Like I call bullshit on the whole damn system. Like for real. Like the lawyers, they're all set up to make plea bargain you out so the state makes money. They're not there for you. If you do, and everybody always, well, it's, we do have racist people out there. Don't get me wrong, but it's not a race thing anymore. It's a class thing. It's right. Who has money and who don't. And if you don't have the money to fight your case, they can say anything about you. Say you're on meth charge you with this, so many things that everybody's going to look at you and be like, they can't charge you with all that if you haven't done it. Like, that's what they're thinking in their mind. You know what I mean? So, and
Right.
they know that's how people are going to think. So that's why they do that. And they're like, oh, I'm going to throw everything I can and just see what sticks. Like, how is
Right.
any of this legal? Like, it's not.
Okay.
Corrupt as fuck.
It is. I represented myself. I was provided my discovery 9 days before court when the law says that I have to have it 10 days before court. Some discovery I didn't even get. I went to court. I filed my exhibits, my witnesses list and everything. The judge quashed my witnesses in my exhibits. 3 of the people on my witness list was CPS workers, and he quashed them. I tried to, because under the law, child concealment, if the parent truly reasonably believe that they're protecting their children, that it's not child concealment. So I wanted to prove what I was protecting my children from.
Right.
I tried to call the cop who was sending those messages, try to put those messages into evidence. The prosecutor got up and said I was just trying to embarrass him, and the judge would not let me call him. I tried to call the guardian ad litem who presented the lies, who said that we were squatters in our house and all that, and as a witness, because I never got to cross-examine her to begin with in the CPS case. And he quashed her, would not. In fact, she came to court and said that under the professional code of conduct or something, that she cannot be both a lawyer and a witness. But she had already acted as a witness when she did that, and said that we were squatters in our house and stuff. So, but the judge didn't let me call her either. However, he let them use
like
her.
Okay, so I know that if like your judge is like a family member or something, and there is a what's the name of it? A conflict of interest or something, like that judge shouldn't be allowed to work with you because
I asked this. Right. I asked for his recusal 3 times to the Supreme Court.
Because you sued him, right? The judge.
I sued him. Yeah, last year. Yep. And that was a reason for being a conflict, and that he was a lawyer for my my landlord against me. All those things. However, he said that he could be fair, so they left him on my case. But I asked for his recusal 3 times.
And he's not letting CPS workers speak for you. Like he's not letting. How is that? How is he doing it fine? Like that is not. You can't just say, "Oh, I only am going to listen to what the state shows. I'm not going to listen to anything the person that's going through this has." Like he didn't listen to any of your stuff, right?
Right. And even since then, like right after I brought in the documents to show that we paid utility bills. I brought in stuff from my landlord saying we're tenants. I filed that with the court. I made sure the judge saw it, but he just completely doesn't acknowledge it. Like he acts like he gets mad at me instead. Like where I'll say something.
Yeah, because you're winning. Like, you're talking against him. You're standing up. They don't like that.
Yeah, but he gets so mad.
Yeah, they don't like that. Exactly.
He said, "You're just trying to put stuff on the record." And I said, "Well, if it is true, is that wrong?" And he said, "Just shut your mouth. Shut your mouth now." Like,
really?
Like, he just gets really pissed off at me. Yeah.
Thank you. I was going to ask you to put that GoFundMe link there. Cool. She put your GoFundMe link in the comments.
Oh, thank you. During my criminal hearing, the judge went through all the things I wasn't allowed to talk about. The cop, I wasn't allowed to talk about the cop. I wasn't allowed to talk about the guardian ad litem lying, even though they used her lies, her removal petition, because CPS didn't petition my kids, she did, right. And used her petition where she said we were squatters and stuff as the basis. That was the court order I broke.
Right.
Based on that, the removal of my kids based on what she said, but I wasn't allowed to call her as a witness. Every time I would say something, the prosecutor would object to it and say like it was irrelevant or something, and I would try to say, well, no, that is relevant. He wouldn't even give me the chance. He would sustain it. Or if I kept talking, which I did several times. He would take me out of the courtroom, away from the jury, into his chambers and scream and yell at me. Like, she brought a little recorder with her, so it has to be on record somewhere. How he would just scream and yell at me because I would talk about things that he told me I wasn't allowed to talk about, you know. And the law is that if there, that
He's
it was a,
bullying you. He's
yeah, and I was
bullying
scared.
you to shut you up. Like, this is the tactics. And I'm just so glad that you're speaking out about it. I know that you're anybody in your situation. I mean, you already spoke out once against a cop and look what's happened. But like,
I mean,
I can't believe it. I can't believe people, they're getting away with it. I can't.
because nobody wants to listen. And anybody in West Virginia who can help won't. They just don't want to acknowledge it, what's happening.
Well, look at what happens if they do. Like, they're probably scared, you know what I mean, to say anything. But somebody has got to stand up. Like, somebody out there has to care about what's going on. And yeah, there's not money in it, but it's the right thing to do. Like, people don't have a lot of money to fight this, but it's the right thing to help her to do this, y'all. And like, I don't know, this whole case frustrates me. And the fact that everybody sees the corruption that goes around, but like, everybody feels like there's nothing they can do. There is something you can do. You can talk, you can shout it from the rooftops, you can make people listen. Have you tried to, like, since you've been out, contact any news source or media to let them know what's going on?
I've been doing this since it started, over and over, like at least once a month. The news around here just will only present what they want them.
Yeah.
Right.
That's part of the system, really. They tell them what they can put out there and what they can't.
Right. And when I was arrested too, like I said, I was arrested from my home. My kids were taken from my home. However, in the news story they printed, it said that that the cops were told that I was on some property in Preston County, out in the middle, in a makeshift
living
teepee
in a tent.
Yes. In a makeshift teepee is what they said. Yeah. But the cops went there that very day, searched the property. Obviously, I wasn't there because I wasn't there.
Right.
Yeah. But that's what they put in the newspaper, and said that where I was actually caught was unknown. Whenever I was in my house with my kids, the same house that she said I was a squatter in, the same house I live in till today, 2.5 years later. But they didn't want to put that.
Still squatting 2.5 years later.
Right. They didn't want to put that I was in my home.
They don't want the public to know. They want to make you be the crazy lady who's trying to keep her kids and abusing them. Right. This all started, y'all, because number one, she had her kids in homeschool. They don't like that either. They want to be able to indoctrinate our kids. They don't want us to homeschool our kids, because that's how they train them up to be the good little taxpayer, to not ever question anything, to obey the police officers. That's where they learn all that.
It's funny you said that, because they last year sometime they brought the psychologist lady to testify, and she testified about like she said, my kids needed, social interaction. They needed to be in public school, that they needed to learn the innuendos, was her words that she used. Right. And I stood up and I questioned her. I said, well, do you have a problem with my homeschool or homeschool in general? Which I didn't expect for her to actually answer it the way she did. I thought she was going to say my homeschool, but no, she said in general that she does not believe kids should be in homeschool, that they need to be out there with, which is my right. But clearly she was completely against. She even said that it was just homeschool in general. In court, she said that.
They're all against homeschool. And this is why, y'all. Okay, so K through 12 is a homeschooling place. And I went to get my son involved in this. This is how I know. I wanted to get my daughter in too, but they told me that my daughter couldn't until after she at least went through second grade of regular school. And the reason for it is the age of kids from this age to this age, their minds are sponges. And so if they can get them kindergarten, first grade, and second grade, they can indoctrinate them in enough time where they can say, okay, now you can homeschool them. Like, It's that blatant. It's like really that blatant. Yes, Trisha, please share everywhere you can. Get this word out. Thank you.
And also something I forgot to mention too is in my criminal case, they brought my sister's ex-boyfriend in to testify as a witness against me. And he testified that I was on that land in Preston because that was the only way they had venue. Everything else, I was in Morgantown. My kids were in Morgantown. I was in my house in Morgantown. Like everything else, like was Morgantown.
Right.
So they had to have venues somehow. So they brought him in to testify that I was on this land and it was his dad's land in Preston County, some random land in the middle of the woods. And but before he was in jail at this time, they let him wear normal clothes to testify against me. He just had his little, no shackles, no handcuffs, that he has little jail flip-flops on. And they gave him, he had 24 felonies. Half of them were for stealing my grandmother's checkbook and her bank card and writing out thousands of dollars worth of bad checks on like stealing my grandma's stuff. And then a year later, after that, about 9 months later, he stole another old lady's checkbook and did the same thing. He had 22 or 24 felonies. They gave him a deferred judgment and to testify against me. That was his deal. He got a deferred judgment for all those felonies. And I went to jail that day. He got out the next. And that's no lie.
I totally believe you. I watch a lot of court TV, and my husband always goes, "Yeah, you're trying to think of ways to kill me," and I'm like, "Whatever." That's a joke we have, but I like to watch it because I want to learn their tactics. I want to learn, what it is, and I see time and time again when they don't got somebody's DNA that they'll like follow them around places and like. That's illegal. Like you just follow somebody around and find their spit and now you got their DNA, but they do it all the time. They do all these crazy things like letting people off for real crimes to testify against people that they want in prison. Like that is all. It just flabbergasts me like how this can even like be okay for anybody. Like people should be outraged, screaming about this.
And also the cop testified that that they went to that land that I was supposedly at, and that there was a hunting cabin or something there, a hunting shack or something they called it, and that in that was kids' toys and sleeping bags, and they had pictures of it, but they lost.
They lost the picture.
But yeah, that's what they testified to. They also tracked my phone too.
They lose an awful lot of your case. You notice that,
right? I tried to get the body cam videos when they came to my house and did that to my little girl. The body cam videos when they went to that land to search it. I was told that neither Mon County nor Preston County had body cam videos when they don't have them.
Right.
That's what I was told. The judge told me that, in fact, at my hearing when I was complaining about it. But they were allowed to testify to things that, they had pictures and the pictures should have been provided, which they didn't because that's not true.
Right.
They said that I had called after court. I called my grandmother's house and told my kids to leave. This is what they said in court. The cop said in court. They provided an audio recording, which I have, where they came and questioned my family, and they were clearly confused and didn't know, they had no clue this was going to happen, or cops are going to be there trying to find, get the kids and stuff. At the end of the recording, because there's two cops there, at the end of the recording, my grandmother had a home phone, like with the caller, how like you see the caller ID when someone calls, like on home phones.
Right.
They asked if they could look through the call log on the phone, and she said, yeah, the recording ends. You don't hear them looking through the thing or talking about what numbers
because they ain't got a warrant for that. They have no reason. They know what they're there for, and they're not allowed to look through that without a warrant. And
they didn't get phone records, nothing. They got nothing like that. The prosecutor brought one of the cops that were there that day to testify. When I questioned him, everything I would ask him, he was, I don't know. I'm not the one who asked him the question. I don't know. I'm not the one who looked through the call log. I couldn't, nothing. He supposedly knew nothing because he's not the one who did it. So I stood up and asked the judge if I could please call the other cop to testify, and I was denied that. He wouldn't let me call the other cop. I mean, just so many things. They tracked my phone. which I was in Morgantown. I asked the cop if they had a warrant to track my phone. He said if there was, I never saw one. Like, just all
Like,
these, and
no,
that's
but
what.
wait. Okay, so they tracked your phone and you were never at this place in Preston, right?
No, it was in Morgantown, right?
So
In fact, when
if
they
they
did,
tracked your phone, they can see that. Like,
well, what
so
happened?
definitely find that evidence if they did, because that
Right.
would prove you okay. And that's probably why it was
Well,
lost. That's probably why they don't have it.
well, what they did too is I had called them. I called the cops and was complaining about, all this stuff. They say they pinged my phone. That I called them. They said I needed to speak to a certain cop to call back in 20 minutes. I hung up. I stopped at Kroger in Morgantown, and I left the phone in the car. And when I came out of the store, there was like 8 cops surrounding the car. And that's how I knew, well, they had to have tracked it,
They
but it's
pinged your
also in
phone.
my, yeah, and it's also in my discovery that they tracked my phone. It was in Morgantown Kroger, that's where it was. They didn't see me. The car was in my, it's my dad's car, it was his insurance, everything. And the phone wasn't even mine. I was just using that phone.
Right.
But it was in the car. It was in the car. Well, they didn't get me. I was nowhere near the car.
Right.
But they took it. They took the car.
They took the car and
They
your phone.
towed it from, yeah. They took the car from Kroger parking lot and they towed. It's in my paperwork. They said that it was towed. And for what?
Yeah. For
And I
what?
still never got it back. I called
They've
there.
now taken your house, your car, your phone, everything. No warrants whatsoever. They can just do this, y'all.
No. And Preston County came to Morgantown to take the car.
Jesus. I really would be looking for that. I mean, that's just a small piece. But any of this evidence that they've collected that proves that like you were not in that city, they can't use that because you should have been tried in a whole nother city, right? With a whole nother
Right, I should have been tried at Morgantown.
Yes,
right.
Because you weren't even
And
in Preston. They're a
I
lot.
asked for this. Right. The judge denied. I asked for a change of venue because I had the right to be tried in the county in which the alleged crime happened.
And you have a right
that.
to be seen by a judge that you haven't sued. Like,
right.
That is up top. Like, it's a reasonable request to ask, can I please not have the judge that I sued? Oh my God.
It took the jury 7 minutes to find me guilty, which isn't surprising because I wasn't allowed to present anything really.
Yeah.
He quashed all my witnesses and stuff. So at the end of my hearing, I had been out on bail for over 2 years or so, about 2 years. Well, no, a year and a half. I was out on bail. No, I was arrested in October 2019. I was tried in November 2021. So from there to then, I never missed a court hearing, never missed a drug test, never missed, I always did what I was supposed to do. At the end of my hearing, he threw me in jail until sentencing, and I wasn't sentenced till March 14th. So I had to sit in jail the whole time. I wasn't allowed to appeal it because I wasn't sentenced yet. Like it was ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, and then you were saying in the beginning too, that they were supposed to try your case within a certain amount of time the first time, but they, to get away from that, they didn't get you on time. So they recharged you. So
yeah, they did a superseded
you in there a little longer.
Yeah, they did a superseded indictment, but the law behind that says that doesn't give them any extra time. Like they shouldn't have had extra time.
No, you have the right to be tried in a reasonable amount of time, and years is not reasonable. Like,
right. And while I was in jail,
reasonable.
Yeah. While I was in jail, the guardian lied on the same lady who lied. In her recommendations to the court, she said that if my husband divorced me, that he could have and signed away his if he relinquished his rights and divorced me, that he could get visitation with the children.
No, you can't get nothing if you relinquish your rights, Scott. I'm so glad you didn't do that. God, they are pulling every stop. They really are. I just sent this whole video to Michael, the guy with our legal program, and asked him when he got a chance to please look it over, watch the video.
Okay.
Michael, what can we do? What can we do? I know you're just one guy, and I've already had him look at a case today, but there are just so many people that are going through corruption like this, and I wish I could just go kidnap all your dang kids and bring them back to you. I hate that they've done this to you. This is bullshit.
Right. Now I'm a 7-time convicted felon because I was convicted of the child concealment, and
that is such good.
Yeah, and
I'm laughing, but please don't take my laugh.
He sentenced me to 2 to 10 years.
Oh my God. How many days or years did you
ridiculous.
Stay
it's
jail?
So crazy, it's laughable.
Right. How long were you in jail before you just got out, right?
115. Yeah, over 100 days. I was there for what felt like forever.
Well, I appreciate you being strong and standing up and speaking out about this. I hate the fact that you're a martyr for a lot of people, but it has to be talked about. People need to know what's going on, and this isn't right. They are abusing your children. They've taken them away from a house that was just fine, all because of some corrupt people. Like, what can you do? What can you do as a person? And you wonder why people don't just go crazy and kidnap their kids for real. Like, because it's not right what they're doing. And if you can't go about it any legal way to get help, what other options do you have? Like, and to threaten children with not being able to see, and you have rights, and not letting you see your kids. Like, my mind is blown. I don't see how they get away with this, but they are, y'all. This is crazy.
And the judge sentenced me to 2 to 10 years, is what he sentenced me to, suspended for 4 years probation. And I I don't want those felonies on my record. I don't think that I should have them on my record.
No.
I've never had a felony on my record. Like, I've never, and then at the end of my thing too, my husband took a plea bargain because his hearing was supposed to be after mine. And, if they didn't give me a fair trial, he's not gonna have one either. And we can't both be in jail. He took a plea bargain, a no contest plea to 1 count of child concealment. They gave him 3 years probation.
But he pled guilty to child. Oh man.
The judge also required me to be on the child abuse registry because I was convicted of child concealment. And the prosecution asked for that, and I asked the judge to not do that because it's not a requirement for that charge. I've never been accused of harming my kids ever.
Right.
But he still made me
no,
for
you
10
were
years.
Protecting your kids. You weren't harming
for 10
them.
years. Yeah, for 10 years he made me be on the child abuse registry because I was convicted of child concealment. And my husband didn't have to do that.
This is not right, y'all. It really isn't right. If anybody contacts us, I'm going to go ahead and say this. My email is cannacorner20@gmail.com. Christy has stuck the GoFundMe in the comments here. You can contact me if you hear this on the radio and want to get that GoFundMe to help her get proper legal something at this point, counsel, something that can help. Contact me at that website. Or what do you have something, a Gmail email that you can give out for people to contact if they want to get your GoFundMe?
Yeah, my email is SALINANESTOR2@gmail.com.
Awesome. Yeah. And y'all, if any lawyers out there want to see the evidence of this case, contact me or Celina at both those websites. I'll also, or not websites, emails. I'm also putting it in the comments. Okay. So if you're a lawyer and you have some advice to give, or if you're somebody that wants to look into this and see all the evidence they have, trust me, they have evidence galore. Or you want to give them some money to help them fight this, contact that email or the one that she just gave, and we will get that to y'all as soon as possible. Celina, I hope to God that this helps somehow. Maybe we can get somebody to listen that matters, that might be able to stand up and fight this and help. I wish I could do more. I hate the fact that I can't, but we are going to do everything we can to help you. If you need to ever talk, love, I'm here like 24 hours a day. I know what you're going through is a lot, and sometimes you just need somebody to talk to. I will be there to help. My heart goes out to you, love. And honestly, I don't know how you're still going on. It's your kids keeping you going. I mean, I give you so much applause and praise for that you're not giving up, that you're sticking with it after all the punches they've thrown at you. Thank you, Christy. And anytime that you want to come on here and talk, like if there's any updates or anything, you've got an open time slot. You just hit me up and we'll get you on, you or Scott, either one. Hopefully this will help. I know we're going on over an hour, but y'all, this was important, and I wanted her to be able to get all of that information out because I knew there was a lot, and hopefully y'all bared with us enough to hear it. And please share this everywhere so that it gets to people who need to hear it. And
I appreciate you letting me do that. And I just want my kids to know that I'll never stop fighting for you, and I love you very much.
And big shout out to the kids that are hanging in all of this. Like my heart goes on to you too. I can't say anything, but I love every one of your kids. They're doing a great job, and there are people trying to help and fight for you. It doesn't seem like it, I know, but there are, and your mama loves you so much. Heck yeah, y'all. Well, I love you, girl. I'm so sorry you're going through.
I love you too.
And like I said, anytime I'm here if you need me. And let's get this shared out and see if anybody contacts me, I'll hit you up and let you know. And of course, yes, the GoFundMe is in there. Let's get her some funds so she can get a lawyer that is worth something. But thank you so much for coming on, love. And I guess we'll go ahead and end it here if there's nothing else. And I will be talking to you later.
Thank you, Pappy.
Thank you for coming on and talking about what's going on.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Heck yeah, y'all. Celina, I told you there was a lot to her story. There's a lot to her story. This is not right. This is so not right. If you are a lawyer, I'm pleading with you again that you can look into this and you can give her some legal advice on what to do or what to help. Please, we need your help. And I did want to talk about one more thing before I get off here. We've got an update on Miss Tamika Drummer in Mississippi. She is doing life for pot for more than 30 grams, less than 250. Let's talk about that for a minute. How much weed does she have? Like, there's a big difference between 30 grams or 250 grams. Like, and if a jury is seeing that, like, less than, more than, but less than, like, like, what if it's like 31 grams and somebody thinks you got 250 on you because it says more than or less than? Like, say how much they got. Anyway, she had in the past had been caught for other things like coke and stuff like that. She had a past. That was done and over with, but her last conviction was a cannabis case, just cannabis. Like I said, for more than 30 or less than 250, it was actually a cup of weed. And because it was her third strike, she has been in prison since 2006. 14 years for a cup of weed. So if you would like to message her, send her some love, show her that you care, please hit me up. I will give you the address of stuff that you can write. We are trying to do a call to action for her. Life for pot. Even if she had the coke before. So she had coke. 14 years. Not right. Not right. Okay. Big shout out to Tamika. I love you, girl. We're trying everything we can to figure out something, motion we can file, something to have them relook at your case and help you get out. I know you're not going to see this, but I know Jackie will tell you that we're rooting on you. And if y'all would like to write her, send her a letter. It means so much for an inmate to get a letter in their hand to show, hey, other people care. Like, that means a lot. So even if all you can do for these people is write a letter, that means a whole lot to them, for real, trust me. So just wanted to put her name out there. Tamika Drummer, Life for a Cup of Cannabis. We got to do something about our system, y'all. We know it's broke. We've seen it's broke. It's not working. We need to do something else. We need to figure out something else. Because right now it is corrupt as fuck. All they care about is funds and money. And our prison system is the new slavery system. They put them in there and have them work for free all day long. Yes, they are in there for trouble, but they're still people. They're still human beings. They still deserve the same rights we do. They just made mistakes. We've all been there. Hell, I could be in prison right now for a cup of cannabis. So could you, probably. We got to figure this out, y'all. We got to figure out how to fix this. Like, there's so many injustices. I don't even know where to start. Can it be fixed? Is it too far gone? I refuse to accept that. I don't know about y'all, but I refuse to accept that there's nothing we can do. People can just take our kids whenever they want in the name of CPS, rip our kids from our lives because we've got them in homeschool and because we turned in a cop that's sending dirty messages. Retaliation. Anybody else would be charged with holding stuff in front of their heads, making them do things, and it's extortion. She wasn't harming her kids. She had been told by two other CPS workers everything was fine. She knew this judge had it out for her. She was protecting her children like any of us would have. Well, that's the end of the show. Hopefully we can get something out of this. Love. I wish I could do so much more. I should go to school to be a lawyer, to work for free. That's what I think I have to do. I haven't even passed my GED. Love y'all. Y'all have a wonderful night. I will see y'all Monday with Mike Alvarez, the guy I'm mentoring, a prisoner. Oh, a recently released cannabis prisoner that we're trying to get back on his feet. He needs a hip replacement. I will have a GoFundMe set up for him as well by next week. Becca is amazing and she's going to set it up for me. Love y'all. Y'all have a great night.